And a happy, nice, cool Wednesday afternoon here from Berlin Raceway, here for another edition of Trackside Live on Facebook Live. Tyler Kuehl alongside Nate Dreyer here, getting ready for a fun little bye-week edition, dare I say, here of Trackside Live. We do have action going right here at the track tonight. The bar is open here in the left turn lounge with the mini wedges back on the track on the front stretch once again. But for those that are wondering, we have, as you probably saw in our marquee, Austin Hall and his spotter slash crew chief. I almost said pit crew chief. I'm like, that's kind of a double whammy, if you will. Him and Carl Usher both will be on the show with us tonight, talk about their big win at the Battle at Berlin, the impressive streak of Austin Hall, as well as the upcoming Battle of the Pros weekend, which is not this coming weekend. It's the following weekend after Labor Day. But for those that maybe want a question for Austin or Carl, maybe both of them, throw them in the chat here if you're watching on Facebook Live. If you're watching next day on YouTube, sorry, I apologize. You can still throw them in the comments, and maybe we'll ask Austin personally. But, Nate, first off, let's kind of, before we look ahead into the interview with Carl and Battle of the Pros, important weekend last week of racing for not just those super late models, Austin Hall closing on that championship, but that Sportsman limited late model double that Josh Fry's trying to pull. A little bit of wrench thrown in the plans there, especially on the Sportsman side, a guy that's actually in the bar right now, Ryan Holzlander, making things a little interesting in that race.
Yeah, Ryan along with Kevin Ford picking up wins there on a day that the 44 is a little bit more, kind of mid-pack. We talked to Josh at the end of the night about that, but like you said, that championship does close in a little bit. Ryan Holzlander able to go to victory lane once and have kind of a couple better finishes on the hole that night. So, yeah, that championship is starting to close in. The limited late model championship, Josh did open it up, I think, ever so slightly, but Holtzlander now within 40 points after last Saturday. So it was certainly an interesting night, and it's only going to get that much more difficult with the amount of races that are coming up here over the next still 2 weekends left.
Yeah, with Ryan picking up that win and having one spot better than Josh Fry in the second feature, that really narrowed the gap a little bit. And I know 39 points doesn't sound like a lot, or might sound like maybe quite a bit, given the fact that the point gap between each position is not much. But with 3 races left for the Sportsman's and limited late models, because they only have single features for the final 3 nights of the season here at Berlin, that race can become very important if either Holtzlander or Fry mess up, or in case you look at the limited late models, DeLongpre messes up or Fry messes up. You do have one drop night a year for every driver, but I'm sure a lot of those guys already have those races picked out. They don't want to try to fix that and say, oh, I have to use it for this race in September.
Yeah, and you can only add, you can add so much more onto it because you have, these extended length races as well coming up. I mean, it's a doubleheader weekend, but it's a couple longer races this weekend along with championship night. So there's that much more that can go wrong and that much more of a different element when you start talking about, races that are going to be 40 laps long in terms of the Sportsman and having to go twice as far as what you normally do, and it changes the math that much more.
Yeah, for a normal feature win, in case people are curious, that's 60 points for when we have our double feature. Super late models is always 120. But for single feature, so these 40-lap races, these 30-lap races that we've seen over the last couple weeks for the 4-cylinders, we'll talk about that in a second, those go up to 120. Now, qualifying, if you fast qualify, you still get the 60 points usual. So as Jeff Striegel told me, the last 3 nights of the year for Josh Fry and Ryan Holtzlander and Nick DeLongpre, 180-point nights. Wow. And if you look at that as well, there's a 4-point gap between first and second place, saying that these guys win, of course. But a double feature, that's an 8-point gap. So every single position will matter here for the last couple of weeks for those guys. Let's look at the 4-cylinder race. Big, what was it now? What was it, 2,500 by the end of the night?
Yeah, right.
We started when we talked to Justin Roloffs and Chase Roloffs last week on this program. It was $2,000. By the time they dropped the green flag, the winning purse was $2,500, the biggest in the state for 4-cylinders. The Roloffs tried to get everything they had, Justin and Chase did, but unfortunately Dave Simpson, friend of the show, friend of the Flow Racing broadcast team, he was just a little too good.
Yeah, and that was part of why that purse was up, was because of his qualifying performance as well. Set a track record in qualifying, went out and was, very comfortably good. That 7 car has been on a roll this year, certainly whenever they've had a chance to have that car out here, won at some different tracks as well. So a dominant race and a big one, and one that, I think there was a little bit of an idea once we got through qualifying, like, oh, the 7 car does have the speed that we thought it did, but like you said, there was enough traffic and enough going on in the middle of that race that you kind of wondered if there was going to be a chance with a couple of late restarts as well for the roll-offs to maybe be able to push each other to the win or pull something off.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's kind of hard to do bump draft with a
Yeah.
four-cylinder. It's not like a super late model or even a limited late model where you can kind of push the guy ahead. So still a good run for Justin. He ended up finishing second in that race, and that was a points race for the four cylinders. 131-point lead Justin has over his brother Chase with 2 races to go. 7 wins on the year for Justin. He's been fantastic. So pretty much what that means is the fact that there's 2 races left, it's not over yet. Obviously, Justin would have to pretty much not show up, but for Justin, he's not just trying to secure that second championship, it is the national points. And after that second place finish last week and a good run for Chase, Justin and Chase are back to 1-2 in the national points for the Division 4 NASCAR Weekly Series Championship. Now, we've talked about all the guys that have done it before: Corey Holtzlander, Cole Roloffs, Tom McCarthy, all the former drivers that have done it before. Now, Justin Roloffs is trying to do it. Chase, though, it's kind of funny because Chase is so many points back, of course, in our Weekly Series points. Chase is only 2 points back of his brother. And that's what we kind of saw last year because Dave Simpson kind of pretty much almost ran away with the Division 4. At least he was so far ahead compared to Luke Baum and Nate McNabb. But because Nate McNabb was so more consistent on the track, he ended up winning the track championship. But I think that's for Justin. I wonder how much that's in the back of his head. We talked about it with him last week. He'd love to do it. It's kind of hard because you have to run so well and you have to worry about the car count, and you kind of have to – sometimes it depends on how many cars you pass in a race, so you have to really qualify well and start far back as you can and work your way up to the front. There's just so much logistics involved to try to do it, and with the fact that there's only 2 races left with the 4 cylinders, Justin has to almost be perfect, and Chase too if they want to have a chance at a national championship.
Yeah, no, it is interesting though when you look at the way that it's calculated. You don't get the qualifying points for the national championship, but then, like you said, there is more math in terms of the in the race battle. So it is interesting because it's almost 2 different kind of mindsets in terms of how you put points together for one championship versus the other. So that'll be something certainly to watch for the rest of this season. We talked a little bit about limited late models. Nick DeLongpre, Tim Green winning those 2 races.
Oh, yep.
And of course, like we just mentioned with DeLongpre, that championship battle now 44 points, but they still have got 3 long features left. So
Tim Green's right back in it with that win.
Yes. So that'll be interesting. Again, with Josh Fry, he's running a lot of races, with having to run both nights this weekend, having to run the championship night as well with multiple different series. That's going to create that much more of an interesting element if he's able to win, become the first guy to ever win 2 championships within a single year here at Berlin. And then super late models, we're going to talk to these guys in a second. Austin Hull dominates the second half of that race. Again, his third in a row, 5th of the year.
We're going to talk to him about what's been working out, and now we're going to allow him to also prep up because they only have 1 more race left. The race that Austin Hall will be competing in next weekend is not a points race because it's a pro late model race. And we'll talk about what the difference is and how that's important for Austin Hall here and maybe establishing himself as not just one of the best here at Berlin, but one of the best in all of short track racing. We'll talk to Austin Hall and Carl Usher next here on Trackside Live. And welcome back, folks, to Trackside Live here at Berlin Raceway. Takio alongside Nate Dreyer, and we're talking to a couple guys that really have been the impressive stories of the season here at Berlin Raceway. Of the Tekton Super Late Models driver, the number 20 car, Austin Hall, and to his outside, Carl Usher, his crew chief, as well as his spotter. Guys, thanks for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having us.
I mean, we had both you guys on individually. We had Austin on, obviously, for the Tekton, and before that, the Tekton 250, that is, and Carl, we had you leading up to it as well. But we haven't had you guys on at the same time. Because let's first go back to the 250. We haven't had a chance to talk to you guys directly about that here on the show. Austin first, $40,000. The guys that you beat, it was impressive. What do you look back on that night now as maybe being the most memorable part of it for you?
Honestly, I kind of blanked on a lot of it just because it was so much in the moment. But just pulling into victory lane and seeing all the media there and the toolbox sitting there and the trophy put on top of the car and just how many people were so excited about it was just crazy.
What about after when they were? Because when I came down and said congratulations to you from the booth, they were tearing your car apart. Have you said you've never had that happen to any of your cars before? Have you?
No, we've had some wins, but like it's nothing that's been as big that they were like, okay, we need to tear an entire motor down, which. We
got to make sure you ain't cheating.
Here, so we're running a crate in a super class, so they really didn't have to do a ton to it, but they still had to check, what they had to check.
I asked you this, Austin, before on the broadcast Saturday, whatever day it was. So Carl, I'll go to you instead. Are you recovered? Are you all set after the celebration from that yet? You're back online.
We're good to go now. It was Wednesday, so we waited till Saturday, came to Berlin, and then went out and celebrated properly.
Now the run you guys are on now, you have 5 wins on the year, Austin. I had to correct myself after saying 10 times on the broadcast. I got my math mixed up.
You got to race ahead of yourself.
5 wins maybe. But 5 wins now for you, Austin, on this season. We talked to you a little bit before the Tekton 250 and, of course, earlier on the season. Just you're at this point now. You have one more track race, one more Berlin race in the Battle of the Pros. We'll get to that in a second. But just kind of what are your thoughts right now just on this impressive season?
We're just obviously we're on a hot streak. It's they don't really come around that often, so you kind of got to ride them while you can. But we're just still doing our homework and trying to make sure that we have the car right every time it comes to the racetrack, and then try to be right when we get to the racetrack, and just keep that same mindset of go there and work hard and make it happen.
I was going to actually follow up here for Carl, because I remember, Carl, when we had you on, you and Ethan on, talking about the cars for the Tekton 250, you mentioned that, we're trying to save for points, stuff like that. You could maybe lose the championship, you were told. At what point in that race did you look at, when you're talking to Austin, you're like, all right, we're going for it?
Probably when he driving down into 3 under somebody, talking to me, telling that he's saving. So he's clearly not driving it that hard because he's underneath somebody talking to me on the radio. So I'm like, okay, yeah, he's really not driving it that hard as he's passing Ty Majeski for the lead. So just kind of how calm he was in the car and the raw speed that we had to be able to drive through the field like that early, probably about halfway before the first stop, I think it was. And then I kind of had some confidence to let the reins loose a little bit and go for the win.
For kind of either or both of you, talking about that confidence, setting up the race car. So, this past Saturday you were 6th in qualifying. I think you mentioned to me you kind of tried something a little bit different. But then you're able to go back. You got a car for the second half of the race that's just rock solid again. How much does that confidence and that knowledge that the base of the race car is so good right now that whatever you try, you can go back to something that's going to win, and then maybe whatever works will work even better? Like, how much does that add to the confidence and what you're just able to do, knowing that the base of that race car is going to be so solid regardless what you try?
It just kind of gives you the opportunity to try and make it better. Like, I know we keep good notes. We know where we need to be. So my joke is that we didn't get quick time at the battle, so I'm a little upset about that. So just kind of trying to, not that we don't have qualifying speed, but just trying to find a little more. And tried something Saturday. Clearly didn't work. But you can go right back to it, and you're right back to where you were, and move on with the race.
I'm so curious about that from a technical side of, and from your side, Carl, of, hey, you know what, we know what's worked for us, but let's try something different. The old saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Where does that come from? Like, let's just try something tonight and see what happens.
You can always be better, and there's guys struggling right now that are going to figure it out, and they're going to be better. So always trying to find the next thing, trying to beat the guys that are struggling right now to the next best thing. So then we're a whole step ahead of them. So you just never get complacent. Keep working at it. Keep trying to make the car better, and really never settling for where you're at.
Let's talk about the 250, Austin, a little bit more. That final stint in particular, the pass and the battle for the lead with Blake Rowe at the end right there. I think he had one fresher tire than you on for that final stint. Take us through that battle, where you were a little bit better, kind of the move you wanted to make before making that late pass for the win.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like when we, I think 2 or 3 restarts before the end of the race, I was kind of nervous because I looked forward and I could see Blake out front and he was, 2 seconds in the lead, and I was like, I don't know if we got enough time to get to him. And the cautions just kind of fell where we needed them to. And I knew I had a car that was stable, so I could kind of drive it pretty hard. And Blake looked like he had used up a lot getting up there. And so I just I pretty much got to him and was like, well, I'm going to figure something out to try to get around him. But he really wanted the top side, and so I just kind of tried to fake a couple moves to the top and then ended up crossing him over. But, I mean, he had a really good race car too, and it was kind of hard to pick where I was going to do it because I didn't know where it was going to end up making it happen, I guess.
I do have a follow-up because you mentioned the cautions because there were, I had a hunch going into that race. I'm like, you know what, it just doesn't seem like it's going to be a super clean, Money in the Bank was a pretty calm race, all things considered. But I just had the feeling that the 250 was going to be bonkers and, rambunctious. But it just seemed like there were, like you said, the cautions kind of fell in place for you. And I'll ask Carl the same question, but Austin, why do you think there was so much going on? Like Tyler Lupton had that big hit, and guys were kind of just spinning on their own. What do you think kind of led to the numerous stoppages in the race?
I think, to be completely honest, like, and I've done it too, is like when the Cup guys come to town and all these big names come to town, like you feel like you have something to prove, and so a lot of people will race harder than they typically do, and I think that's where we were comfortable because we were in a spot where I was like, I don't really have a lot to prove at this point, just because we've had a few wins and we're leading the points and everything, so it kind of relaxed me a little bit. And yeah, it's just little mistakes, it's nothing crazy, but it's always just Berlin is so finicky that it's every little mistake that you make compounds into another one, into another one, into another one, and it creates these problems that eventually become insurpassable, basically.
Who jumps in our chat here? Dustin Slater says Van Dorn Racing Development to the point. Austin Hall, one of the many Van Dorn drivers here at Berlin. Carl, I'll ask you this kind of the same question from the eagle eye view. What did you see in that race that kind of made it a little bit different from some of the other premier races that we've had in the past, where we've gone 50 green flag laps no problem?
Yeah, I think there's obviously, as a Berlin guy, there's a lot of pressure. Like NASCAR Regional posting it, defending his home turf. That's the term that kept getting thrown around. Everybody wants to do that. So all the guys that come from out of town going to the ASA races and CRA races that I go to, you see that's just how they race. Like, you race hard. And Berlin guys not wanting to get bullied around and not wanting to take it, it gets a little rough sometimes. So, like, from the go, looking back through the field, they're racing hard. And you kind of see it coming from lap 1 when nobody's giving, nobody's taking. Like, it's just get sporty. So just kind of the pressure of wanting to defend your home turf and feeling the need that you need to be good here. That's a tough feeling to have where it causes mistakes.
You mentioned, Tyler, you mentioned the eagle eye, the view that you have from the spotter stand. That I think I want to ask about that, Carl, because you have kind of an interesting dynamic being a crew chief, being the guy that's making those changes, but you're up top while you're trying to make those changes, especially during a race that's got multiple pit stops like the 250. Describe that dynamic of trying to direct the crew, make those changes, and not be able to get on the race car yourself.
Yeah. It's stressful. Dave, the team owner, I had enough trust in him. Obviously, he's a team owner to make the changes and trust him to run the pit. But it's scary. I mean, we're running really good. We've got really good speed, and to not have control of that was creepy. Like I couldn't even see our pit stall. So, like we've said before, we've got
you guys have had that stall for years. You
Yeah.
you can change it. You can move across the other side.
No, but we've got a great crew, but they're a bunch of weirdos. Like they're all new to racing, so it was stressful. But just having trust in Dave and having trust in the team of bunch of misfits that we have, you just have to have trust and know that they're going to get it done.
Do you have any more on the 250?
No, I think we can probably wrap that up.
Wrap that up and move on to what's coming up next week, the Battle of the Pros weekend. You know, we always talk about the Money in the Bank and the Battle at Berlin. Now, all of a sudden, we have this other 150-lap race, which pays $12,000, a 6-tire race, we know. How have you kind of been looking at this race? I know it's been hard that you want to stay focused on the battle, but now quickly, just a few weeks later, we have this other big, long, not endurance race, but a long stretch race, Austin. How have you been kind of looking at this race?
I mean, it'll be interesting because, I guess looking back at the season, statistically, supers have been pretty good in qualifying, and so it kind of throws a little bit of a variable into the race. But the fact that we're all going to be on crate motors now is interesting. The crate motors are typically better on a long run, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see who shows up for it and see how much pressure there is to actually get the win there.
I was about to say, Joe Bush has told us that before. These great long green flag runs helps out a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing I find interesting is, so we run the 150, and that was really hot this year back in June. We assume that this is going to be a little bit cooler conditions, but the same sort of tire setup. So I guess we talk a lot about that strategy and, if you're going to be able to pit early or not, try to play the track position game. Does it become, with the cooler conditions, maybe a bit more grip? Is it more feasible, you think, that guys might try to flip the field, make that 2-tire change earlier? Are we going to see more variability in strategy than what we did back in June when everyone pitted on the exact same lap, essentially?
I think you'll see some difference in strategy. Short pitting and trying to get track position is always big. I mean, you saw Blake Rowe almost get it done at 250 or 150 or whatever it was a few years ago. So just kind of knowing your race car and knowing what it's going to do on the long run with old tires against new tires. But yeah, short pit's always a good move, especially when it's cooler out, because you're going to keep that grip.
For both of you guys, I guess, how much do you like having this third race? I know you guys do a lot of CRA stuff, so you're kind of used to doing long runs at other tracks, but having a third long race here for the for the pro late models here at Berlin, do you like that third race, Austin? And I guess I'll ask Carl the same question after.
I mean, I guess the past couple years I've been a little frustrated with Berlin because we were kind of having a hard time figuring it out. This year has been good for us, so I'm excited for it. But I think it'll be a fun race, especially if we get some guys from out of town that come in and race it. And it's always interesting, especially with the McCreary tire. And sometimes you don't know what to expect, but I think that's part of the fun of it.
Butch Drolema jumped in on the chat, says, go Austin and Carl, keep digging. He kept it clean for you guys. But Carl, another, like you said, we talked about the strategy, but as a crew chief, having to kind of set the team up and having to go through the work to do that, do you like that stress, or does it get you kind of amped up, because it is, as we're learning, $12,000. It's a big race.
Yeah, it is a big race. I enjoy big races. I think they're fun.
Gives you something to do.
Yeah, right. Working for Van Dorn, we go to a lot of big races. Like, we go to the Derby all over the place. So you kind of get numb to the big race thing. It's honestly going to be less stress because this points racing thing is tough.
Yeah.
So to be able to go into a race and just kind of go for the win and come at it aggressive is fun. So yeah, I like the idea of a third big race. I think it's cool. It's a cool premise.
Mention Van Dorn, and I don't know if the audience can tell you guys are Van Dorn. I don't know if anyone can pick that up, but Van Dorn's kind of been at, I feel like, one of the cutting edges of, we've seen a little bit more of this kind of team dynamic, chassis versus chassis dynamic. Tell us a little bit about kind of inside of that, what it's been like, with a little bit more data sharing, working up and down. Essentially, you guys just have like the left side of pit road, essentially. What that dynamic has been like, and some of the machinations kind of behind the scenes with that team element coming into the fray, which is something that you don't always see in short track racing.
Yeah, I honestly think a lot of the reason that we're as fast as we are is because of the data sharing, and there's a lot of teams that are really good right now, and I think some of the other manufacturers might not do as much data sharing, and I think that's partially, the reason that we're getting as much as we are, because we're getting so many different viewpoints from different parts of the setup, different parts of the track, and it's allowed us to put a package together that most people can run on. I mean, we saw Justin Thomas go out last week, and he comes in the pits and he's like this thing is awesome. And
Because did he have a Van Dorn before that?
No.
he had a Port City before that.
Okay, so this new car, they got it. That's what we thought.
Yeah, and like we went over there and put a quick setup in it, and then he comes out here first week and he's happy with it right away. And it's just, we've gotten to a point where the car is very drivable, and it's not really tune specific for one driver. I mean, you saw Dylan Stovall run away with the first half of the race. I flat out couldn't catch him on the first run, but yeah, and I think it creates a team dynamic where everyone gets another level of respect for each other because we're all helping each other out.
Now, Carl, when we had you on for the Tekton 250, we asked about you going from spotter to spotter, talking to drivers. How about with working the Van Dorn team? How much do you talk to their crew chiefs about their cars?
Every chance I get. I mean, we get a little bit of downtime, hop on the four-wheeler, drive down to Lupton's pit and talk to Johnny Van Dorn. Stovall and us pit next to each other. That's Ethan Stanucek. Yep. So we talk all the time. We're actually roommates, so we're always talking.
Always works.
Yeah. So
did you pay the rent? No, but I got a new front fender I want to try out on Saturday.
Yeah, it helps a lot. I know they don't come here a whole lot, but Wilson Motorsports, they've got 4 cars they bring to the racetrack everywhere they go. So you get 4 data points. It's kind of what we've worked on here is in-house crew chiefs. We've got 3 of us, and then all of the other Van Dorn cars. So it's nice we can all try something different, like say air pressure or something. We all try, all 3 of us go out with a different package, and then you can just quickly compare. It doesn't take 3 weeks to try 3 different air pressure setups for qualifying. You can get it done all in one time, and you can learn stuff really quickly.
Kind of mentioned I want to go back to Saturday as well. This is another thing I wanted to touch on, and kind of the 2 halves of that race, so to speak. We have a couple data points now on the way that these races have gone with the Comp Yellow in the middle of them. Tell us about that cat and mouse game of saving the first half. I was on your guys' radio, so I know what was being said. I was on the
easy there, easy.
Well, I know. Yeah,
he's not gonna say everything that you
right.
guys have told each other.
It actually was fun going between you guys and the 24, because essentially it was just each driver asking for the gaps the whole time and just trying to play that game. So describe that, what it's turned into the first half, knowing like when to attack, when to save, and if you're starting to kind of figure out the way that those races are going to ebb and flow with the break in the middle now.
Yeah, I think obviously in the first half of the race you don't really want to be the guy leading. The guy leading typically has to set a pace, and the guy behind can determine whether or not you're going to go faster or slower, because they can push you or lay back or whatever. I pressured him a little bit to make sure he kept the pace up, just to see if I could get him to burn something up, and
he told you to chill at one point in time.
And Carl's telling me to back off and chill and let it ride, and I think we were close enough with the setups that and where we hit it that I was able to push him a little bit on maybe his right front or something, and then kind of pushed me on the opposite end of the spectrum. But yeah, obviously we fired off on the second restart good.
Is there anything harder as a spotter than getting the driver to be able to save when they have the leader in their sights like that?
No, nothing. He's a race car driver. He wants to drive it as fast as it's going to go every lap. I mean, it takes every lap nice and smooth. Save the right rear for me. It usually doesn't work.
Dustin chimes back in. Can't wait to see y'all at the Derby. See you the 13th. Hashtag Donner Domination. Hashtag LFG. I don't know what that stands for.
I don't know either.
I got to ask you this, Austin, because we race here at Berlin. We race the Super Late Model Series. But you yourself admitted you've ran crate motors. You ran supers here as well. But it seems like the majority of the cars we have here are crate engines. Am I wrong on that? Or
I'd say it's accurate.
Yeah, because there are only maybe, 4 or 5 that I think still run supers. I guess the question is it to the point where does it really matter if you have a super here at this track? Because obviously, you won, and I know Bubba's obviously gone to a crate motor as well. I mean, that's what I said. I'm like, we call it a super late model race, but when most of the guys rate pro late models or crate motors, does it I guess, I mean, what do you prefer to describe yourself as? You call yourself a super late model driver, or you just say, hey, I run in a super late series?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just late models around here. Berlin is kind of the great equalizer of the motor packages, but there obviously there's ways that supers can be beneficial, and there's ways that they can hurt you, and it's the same on the crate side. It's just the opposite. But I would say, I mean, if I had the option, I would like to run a super just because I like to go really fast in qualifying. But
It obviously doesn't really help in the race because it took you a while to get one.
It could hurt you in the race. There's a lot more finesse in it, and you have to be a lot more careful about burning off the rear tires.
So following up that question with this, then what tracks, because you obviously do a lot of the CRA races while you're going to Kalamazoo this week, we'll ask about that in a second, then what tracks would you say are more suited for super late model compared to a crate motor? Or are there more tracks that you've raced at that are better pro late model setups than supers?
Any track that really has a differentiation between the two, I would say a super is just going to be better at, just because you'll be able to use the horsepower. But like Owasso is a good super track. Toledo is a good super track.
He kept whining about just wanting more horsepower the whole time we were there.
Winchester, you could definitely use a lot more motor. There's just a lot of tracks.
And it's the way the bowl is that
it's just how long the straightaways are. I mean, you've got more time to ramp speed and get into the corner, and that track, I mean, you almost don't lift in a pro late car.
Yeah.
Pensacola, the crate cars are 2-3 slower.
Okay.
Than a super.
So they'll probably bring the super out for that one, or is that a pro? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can run either there. There's two classes.
Yeah. Let's say Nate, you had another one there because I was going to ask about KZoo.
Follow up. Go ahead.
Let's say Kalamazoo this weekend. I guess for fans that are Berlin fans that don't go down to Kalamazoo, I guess tell them what's the difference when you race a late model car down there. What's the difference from your perspective?
Really, it's just some of the technicalities of things where how they go through tack and how they go through the race day, and it's more like fanfare because it's just the single class that's running instead of running 4 classes at a track. It's not really a whole lot different as far as the racing goes. I guess there are some higher dollar teams in that class that will, they don't really care about ripping a fender off a car. Feels like people at Berlin, for the most part, respect each other. I don't know. It's the competition, I feel like, is pretty close to the same. Berlin's got pretty stiff competition. It's just obviously going to all the new tracks and, going to Kalamazoo especially. I've only ran a few laps there in a test, and there's no one else on the track, and it's hot, and there's probably oil down. So I'm going there with basically an open notebook and just going, let's figure it out.
I think we were kind of, pointing out, like you look at, Evan Shotko went down to Jennerstown, won that race, and, the tough competition he's had trying to get that car right at Berlin. So that just goes to show a weekly show at Berlin, how tough it is to win here 100%. Just at a weekly show versus running a national series.
Yes.
I'm about to say, Carl, how many guys, maybe out-of-towners, come to you and ask you, like, hey, what is your guy doing? Obviously, you have the Van Dorn stuff, but, maybe someone, not trying to point, but like a Derek Griffith, if someone from that kind of realm of an outsider, as we sometimes call them, come to you and say, hey, how do I run this track? How should my guy prep for this kind of course?
I mean, through anybody at VRD, we get phone calls from anyone asking for help. We help non-VRD guys, they all call and ask for advice. So, anybody really. They know Berlin's our home track, so we have a good idea how to get around here.
Justin Thomas threw a
we
question.
need to do
oh
this.
boy, I wouldn't even read it.
He threw it. It was the very first question we had, but it was right before we had you on. Who is the better dirt modified driver, Austin or Carl?
I've driven a race car twice, and I still think I'm going to say me.
Okay,
not
so
good
Do you not know? Do you got to go right to go left?
So here's the deal. We raced at Palo, and he led half of a race at Palo.
First race ever in a race car,
was
by
his
the way.
first race ever. But he did knock the deck out of the car after the first
I
half.
did get past for the lead and drive it right in the fence.
And then, but then we went to 96, and it felt like he was afraid of the throttle pedal.
We don't want to talk about that one.
It just seems like, and I guess that's the fun in racing, right? You can go out there, and sometimes you have your day, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah, literally that. I mean, we were kind of joking about it after the 250. We're like, watch, we win the 250, and then we go out and run 10th the next week.
Well, you guys obviously didn't do that. Speaking of Justin Thomas, you, Austin, and him, they ran Sportsman's. You guys ran those for many years. We got Ryan Holtzlander here in the Left Turn Lounge watching us very closely, making sure we're accurate this week. But he's right now in a battle with Josh Fry for the championship. Josh Fry trying to go for history, trying to become the first ever 2-time series champion in 1 year at Berlin. You've raced against both of those guys. I'm curious about your perspective on that battle between Fry, who's the winningest driver of the current rendition of Sportsman's at Berlin, against Ryan, who's won championships for and is obviously pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I work closely
Make sure you
with
speak
Ryan.
loudly, so if you can,
right.
if you can hear you, he'll come over.
Obviously, I work closely with Ryan, so I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, Josh is really good. Me and him had some really good battles when I raced in Sportsman, and him and Ryan have really good battles now. But it's interesting to watch because you know, on each night, one of them will be really good, and the other one will be a little off, and then it'll switch, and they keep going back and forth. But I think the points battle is pretty tight right now, and I think it's kind of anyone's game.
I mean, obviously you've been sticking with the super late models for the last few years, but how tough do you think it? I mean, we talked to Josh Fry, and he's been trying to do he's sometimes been a part-time Sportsman driver. He's running full-time both those series. Is that something you'd ever want to do? Try to do 2 series at the same time in one season? Well, I can
Ask Carl.
I had
Well, Carl, you
talked-
wouldn't have to spot for the Sportsmans. You wouldn't have to do that.
I had talked to my dad about getting a Sportsman back out there because I'm like we could just start trying to pad on the wins, you know, and just try to knock down a record or two or something like that. But it doesn't sound like he's real interested in it. But I don't know. Like I like racing for the late model wins. I think they're tough. They're well respected, and I don't know. It's you know, even a championship in that class is I think bigger than 2 of my championships in the Sportsman.
Well, as perfect lead into that last question, you pretty much have to just start that last night, championship night, and it's yours. Now, yes, Carl made a good point. The Tekton 250 is 40,000. A championship was 10,000. That's
Well, getting them both would be pretty cool too.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I didn't say I want one or the other.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying that now. What would it mean to? What's it going to mean to you that after all the success you had in the Sportsman's, all the work you've done to get the super late model program and, you know, pro late model program off the ground, to put your name up there with the Brian Campbells, with the Senecers, with the guys that have won big late model track champions at Berlin Raceway?
Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, my dad and I were just talking on the phone the other day about how, you know, we're racing against guys like Brian Campbell and Terry Seneker, and like those are guys that, you know, even 5 years ago we looked at and we were like, how are they so fast around here? I don't understand it. And it's just, it'll be something so surreal. It's insane. But like, you know, like winning Sportsman championships, you're like, yeah, I got a championship, but like you don't see your name out on the wall behind the picnic tables back here, you know, like it's nothing. It's big, but like a super late model championship is so respected out here. It's just it's the biggest thing you can do out here.
Quickly, just before we go on that, speaking of, I mean, your face is going to be on the banner next year. Have you thought about that, what that's going to be like to drive up here every time?
That's the first thing we actually thought about.
Yeah, when we were in Victory Lane, I think Carl came over to me and he hugged me, and then he goes, your name's going to be on the back of those bleachers. And it's going to be crazy, but I think we're gonna get with them and see when they're going to be putting that up. And we might be sitting out here in lawn chairs cracking beers watching them put it up.
It might be a little chilly that day, but if you have beers, you won't feel it at all.
No.
But Carl, from your perspective, a championship, what would that mean? Because obviously you're helping us set up the car, but you're making sure the team's together and making sure the right guys are involved to make sure that car runs. What would that mean to you as kind of the orchestrator, if you will, of this 20 team?
Obviously, it's super cool. I mean, it takes consistency to win championships, so being able to put it together every single week and make sure that he's there and just do, at the end of the day, winning, running good, if we win, I did my job as a crew chief. So to run good is super cool, and to have a shot at a championship is crazy. It's my second year of crew chief in a car, so it's wild to be in this spot, but super cool. Obviously not just me, Johnny, Butch, Ethan, Sonny, everybody at Van Dorn taught me everything I know. So a lot of thanks to them.
Well, I mean, a lot of thanks for you guys coming on the show once again. Austin, I know it's the third time for you. Well, granted, the Tekton 250 is different. We grabbed you because, you know, you just happened to be in our eye shot. But these guys right here will be battling in the Battle of the Pros weekend. Carl up top, Austin down in the number 20 car. We'll see who's going to come out. Be sure to stay tuned and see who.
Before we go real quick.
You do the whole thing where like, I got some sponsors to thank.
No. So the New Stars race Friday.
Yes.
The non-winners race.
Yes.
Barrett Paulhemus, former Jegs racer, is driving the 20 machine.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yes. All right.
Yep. Spotter for Tyler Lupton.
Yes.
Actually.
There we go. Because we were thinking about that, like how many guys are going to be put into cars that we might see on the Saturday race. Have you guys have any idea who else might be?
I think there will be more Friday because it's a very broad thing. Like it's not just non-winners; it's non-template late model winners. So, and you could see Cole Butcher. I'm not saying he's gonna, but you can see Cole Butcher come up and run this car. So. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Well, yeah, we're expecting probably a few names start coming out because obviously people wanted to make sure, let's make sure because there's the CRA race this weekend. Yeah. There's a couple other touring series. They don't want to mess up their cars and after that. But I was
just gonna say the irony is that Friday night that the 14-year-old is not eligible to race in it. Like I think
but his spotter is.
Right, it was almost created for him, and now he can't run in it.
Yeah. So we put a spotter in the car.
There you go.
There you go. Hey, Derek Nealon's been out here before. He's a spotter. He's NASCAR Cup Series spotter, but. Austin Hall and the guys will be racing for $12,000 on September the 6th, the night before 75 lapper for non-winners. Maybe guys that might, you know what? It's possible here at this track. You may see someone pull a double. You never know if someone has the car to do it both nights. And those names will be coming out soon. But once again, Carl, Austin, thanks to guys. Congratulations on a great year so far. And we'll see you guys in a little over a week. And, of course, on Championship Night, September 13th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
We'll be back to wrap things up here from Berlin on Trackside Live. And we are back here on Trackside Live. Ty Kuehl, Nate Dreyer. Huge thanks to Carl and Austin for joining us on this week's program. And yeah, it's a weird feeling going in for this one because usually we're like getting ready for a race coming up on Saturday. We're getting ready for races in a week and a half. But it's nice because we have a nice weekend off. Of course, for me it's easy because my son's second birthday is tomorrow, and we got. Since he's only 2, there's a weekend's worth of stuff going on, so it's easy for me to have the week off. But no, it's
congrats.
Yeah, congrats. Yeah, we made it 2 years and have the child. He's still there and still with it. But, you know, we're gearing up for 2 big weeks here, Nate. We kind of talked about it earlier on. That Battle of the Pros week, you know, when we first saw it on the calendar, we weren't sure what it really was. We just saw 2 pro late model races back-to-back. I'm like, oh, that could be fun, maybe a couple hundred lappers. And all of a sudden, $12,000 is on the line. I'm like, well, we might have us a pretty good show.
Yeah, it'll be good. And again, it's as those guys were kind of alluding to, we're taking the base setup of what we see for the 150. We're adding maybe cooler conditions, some different strategies, some different elements. I think it might be one of the more exciting races of the year. I think you're going to get some guys, too, that are really, you know, hopefully with some of these guys traveling in that maybe they're new to the racetrack, they got a lot of speed. I think it's going to be a very fun. I think when we look back at the end of the year, It's going to be tough to beat the battle for the win at the 250,
Yeah.
but I think this is going to be one of the most compelling races that we had this year.
Because there's going to be no supers to question about who's got a super, who's got a crate motor, whatever. Everyone's going to kind of, not the same setup, but you know what I mean? Like, everyone's got the same engine.
And they're going to be able to push because they're on that, as they've said and we've heard all year, when you have the crate motor, that they've been apt to be able to push deep into the stints. We saw that with some different battles, like when Bubba Pollard first got one of those cars.
Right.
So I think you're going to have some great battles deep in the runs.
And also, I mean, well, you say it's maybe cooler temperature. It's supposed to be 82 on Monday here in West Michigan, so you just kind of. Now, granted, we have a whole week for that to change.
That is cooler than it was in June for that race.
That is true. That is true. And it will be weird because it's going to be weird for me because I'm like September, like usually that's the last couple of weeks, championship weekend. You know, may have the football on the side screen. Now we have a huge race for this one here. But we're excited for that race. Like we said, 5th and 6th. The names that we will see at that race will probably be coming out next week. We'll be back Trackside Live talking to a couple of the guys that we're expecting to see in that Battle of the Pros weekend as well. 2 more Trackside Lives, 2 more weekends of racing here at Berlin Raceway, Nate. Can't exactly ask for a better way to end 2025.
Definitely cannot.
So with that, folks, we're going to sign off here before I ramble on too much further. September 5th, like we said, that's the non-winners late model invitational race for the Battle of the Pros on September the 6th. We'll be back, of course, next Wednesday to preview that and then some. Thank you all very much for watching, and if you had any questions, thank you very much for chiming those in on the chat today on Facebook Live. We'll see you next week here from Berlin on Trackside Live.